Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell. I have a wonderful wealth manager, Cherie Leanza. Cherie, welcome to Family Business World. How are you?
Thank you, Dale. I'm well. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Excellent. Well, you are really the co-owner, and your official title is Vice President of Marketing and Business Development for the Gen Wealth Group, Inc. But I know you do so much more with your husband. And always, we like to start out with origin stories. So now, where did you grow up, and how did you end up in this business?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. Well, I'm a native New Jerseyan, lived here my whole life. Actually grew up a little bit more south of here in Point Pleasant area. Our office is located in Maplewood, so we really didn't go too far from our alma mater, which is Seton Hall University. Mike and I are both graduates, two-time graduates of Seton Hall. So we've been in this community a long time, and in and around New Jersey, and that's the market that we serve. So after college, kind of Mike and I took different directions in our careers. I went to work in the pharmaceutical industry. I worked for Merck for many years, and Mike really had a career in finance and worked for many of the large financial institutions, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. And then at some point, really rose to the top of his game there and began to realize that he could probably do this better on his own for clients as it related to providing financial planning and wealth management services for clients. A lot of the big financial institutions, offer incentives to their employees and their professionals around certain products and services that are important to them. And Mike began to realize very quickly that if he wanted to offer full financial planning and wealth management services with the freedom to do really what was best for the client and be free from some of those pressures of commissions and proprietary products, that he would have to go on his own, that he would have to leave and start his own business. And he made that decision back in 2006. And we ended up buying a building here in the Maplewood Village because he was working in Maplewood for a large bank and found a property that he felt would be conducive to opening our own small business. And it took us 2 years to construct the building. And in 2008, we opened our doors as the Gen Wealth Group, an independent financial planning firm. I left Merck, where I was doing marketing and business development, and came here to help Mike, and as a co-founder, came here to help him build our own practice. And we're here 12 years now.
Wow, what a wonderful family business story. I love that. I love that. And you both met I got my doctorate from Seton Hall. Now, I'm at Fairleigh Dickinson. I love Fairleigh Dickinson, but I got my doctorate from Seton Hall, so I love Seton Hall too. And so, did you meet at Seton Hall?
We did. Yeah,
excellent.
We did early on in our college careers, but we were very busy college kids, and pursuing our careers and internships, and we really kind of did our own thing, even though we did meet there. We were married there at the Seton Hall Chapel, and we got married many years after graduation, almost 7 or 8 years after we graduated, because we then pursued advanced degrees and did a lot of other things before we felt it was time to get married. And we were married at the chapel. But I think what really keeps us connected to this community is that this is a community that really formed us as the professionals that we are today. We really received a lot of education, connections, and there's a lot in our hearts about the South Orange Maplewood area. It's really what gave us our start as young professionals. And so to set up our business and have our practice here in this community, it really means a lot. In some ways, we feel like we never left.
Right, and just hearing your voice as I've talked to you, and you really are connected and very, very passionate about the community, and I love that relationship. And that's one of the advantages, I think, of family businesses, is that they are part of the community. They're just like everybody else. Before we learn a little more about the business, it's real interesting that you went into financial planning. You went into this financial planning, this financial management. If somebody's out there, and as you know, the market has been great. There are a lot of people with money, and some people may say, well, I want to get into, financial planning and other things. What advice do you have for people that are thinking about going that route now?
Going that route as becoming an investor, or
as becoming say they want to work with a company like Gen Wealth Group. What advice do you have for them to make that transition?
To come to the company as an employee or as a client?
As an employee or even starting your own. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great question. And the market right now for new hires is very tight. It's the labor market is very tight right now.
Yeah.
In fact, we just extended an offer to our 8th employee as the practice really grew last year during COVID.
Right.
We only hire certified financial planners.
Yeah.
The CFP mark is very important to our business because at our firm we provide full financial planning, not just investment management. That is one aspect, of course, of what we do, but we offer clients a full spectrum of services as it relates to financial planning. So that includes counseling on estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, taxation, all the various components that make up a certified financial planner degree. So we only hire CFPs, very difficult to find. There are many colleges and universities around that offer the CFP program, but it is very much a niche profession. So I would say to anyone that's currently in school or pursuing, a degree in finance, if you have a desire to work with clients in a very holistic way, and not just want to do the asset management, but really want to have a relationship with that family and advise and counsel them throughout the various milestones of their life, then the CFP degree is something you should consider. Because that is really what we do. We really take our clients through all facets of their life, from the accumulation years, which is what we do when we're working and we're growing our career and we're increasing our salary and we're earning more benefits. Those are the accumulation years. At some point, we transition from the accumulation phase to the distribution phase, which is when we retire, and then we begin distributing those assets that we managed to accumulate that are going to support us for the rest of our life. And so planners really help clients to do that and to do it well and to have a plan. And that's kind of sort of funny what the CFP's logo is, their motto is, let's make a plan.
Right.
Because that's really what you need as a professional to transition from that accumulation phase to the distribution phase.
That's a great way to think about things. One of my best friends works for the CFP board in Washington, D.C., and so it's good to see the inside. One of probably my biggest mistakes, professional mistakes, is I was one of the early CFPs and back in 1987, and then I went to Wharton to get my MBA, and I said, I'm going to do corporate stuff. Let me let the CFP go. I wish I kept it. I wish I had kept it because I love financial planning. I love working with individuals. I love counseling, which is kind of my next question is, you are more than just helping people manage money. You become counselors, if you will. You kind of help people through life and deal with the issues of life and those types of things. Talk a little bit about that for the audience.
It's one of the greatest rewards, honestly, of this profession is touching all the different aspects of their life. I mean, from the from the time our clients get their first job to maybe when they get married, have that first child. I've had the great pleasure of seeing clients through all those phases and watching them transition from being a career person to retirement, and then even into the later years where they start planning for the next generation and legacy giving. And what are they going to do with the money that they've managed to accumulate? What is their hope for that money? How do we help them plan for charitable intent or legacy giving to the children and grandchildren? So it's a great honor. I'm humbled. I'm shocked sometimes about the role we play in people's lives and how transparent our clients are with us. Many times we're the first person they call when there's a life event, whether it's a marriage, a divorce, the birth of a child, the death of a spouse. We are really at the crosshairs of all of that. And so you very much become trusted advisor, trusted counselor to the family. It's a very humbling experience. It's a great joy, but it's very weighty at times.
Well, one of the I think the signature marks of your business is really your ability to build that trust. So often people, they've been with one advisor for many, many years, and do you have a strategy on how you build trust, or how do you do that? How do you really become such a trusted advisor to your clients?
It's a very great question, and as as a registered investment advisor, which we are, the RIA is a standard within the industry. Not all financial advisors or financial firms are registered investment advisors, as you know. RIAs hold the fiduciary standard to do what is in the client's best interest, not ours. So we have the fiduciary standard, we have the best interest standard. So right away, when a client begins to work with a firm that is an RIA, there's already an inherent trust that's there.
Right.
You know that what we are doing is transparent. We're very collaborative with clients in how we construct the portfolio and how we invest their money. We start with a very in-depth conversation about what they're trying to achieve financially in their life. What are their goals? What are their values? What's important to them? What do they want to have happen with their money? What kind of retirement do they aim to have? So all of that collaboration, that open discussion, transparency about how the money is invested, what kind of risk we're taking, what kind of returns are we after? All of those things together, I think, are trust builders. That happens up front, and then throughout the entire relationship with the client, there is an ongoing communication of performance. How are we doing? How are they feeling? What's happening in the markets? It's incumbent on us to communicate to clients, to keep them calm, to give them peace of mind. So that ongoing upfront discussion, and then the ongoing communication over and over again, making sure the client understands what's going on, how the assets are performing, and dispelling any of the myths that I think are out there about, sort of what we're doing behind the scenes. Everything is very transparent.
Well, and one of the things that's very key in what you're saying is the, how their portfolio is performing may not be as important as how they're feeling, right? Right? It could be performing well, but they may not be feeling good. And so it sounds like you're in touch with that. Do you have instances like that it's not just about the highest rate of return, it's about how I'm feeling and risk management and risk aversion and those things?
Yes, and I often feel that a good part of our job is that of emotional counselor. And I understand that the CFP board has just added a psychological component to its training for its professionals.
Oh, really?
To earn the CFP mark, you have various training that you have to do. And as you said, to maintain the mark, you have to continue with continuing education. They just recently added a psychological component to that. So advisors are prepared to work with clients on an emotional level when they're feeling nervous or they're feeling scared about what the markets are doing. We have to understand, where is that coming from? What is causing their nervousness? What is keeping them up at night? We have a 24-hour news cycle. Clients can check the markets anytime, day or night, including how they're performing with us. Our clients have open access to look at their portfolios 24 hours a day and can see the various machinations of the market. Is the account up? Is the account down? Why? What's causing that? What's happening in the world that's causing the markets to quake? So we often have clients that have some irrational fears, as you described. They see it's down one day, right, or it's down for the month. What we have to remind them of is we have a long-term plan. We have a solid strategy that we crafted with their input. It's the long game that we're after. We're not worried about a 1-year outcome. We're planning for the next 30 years for retirement. And so we have to zoom out. We have to remind our clients to zoom out. Let's take a careful look at really what's happening. And if we have to adjust strategy, we will. We try not to do that too often, because we know that when we tinker with things too much and we make emotional reactions in the portfolio, we make mistakes.
We make mistakes.
So we try not to do that.
Well, we're about the halfway point. We're going to take a short commercial break, and then we're going to come back. And I want to talk about that financial planning process a little more. So once again, Family Business World, we will see you right after the commercial break.
This plus this equals this plus this and this. Don't drink and drive.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell with Cherie Leanza and from Gin Wealth. And we're having a great conversation about financial planning, and it's bringing me back. And so I was one of the early, I actually took 6 separate tests. It was long before the one test. And, and so we did it over, several weeks. And so, really did enjoy working with individuals. And then I actually was a broker with this is how old I am, Dean Witter. The old Dean Witter. And so I remember looking at stock market prices, what is it, Qualtrics, and it's like so different now. It's such a world. And the thing that reminds me, so this is back in the 80s, is that the goal was to hit 2,000 and the Dow Jones by the year 2000. And nobody believed you could hit 2,000 by the year 2000, and look at us now. So it's amazing how things have changed. And so one of the things that we were talking about during the break is the importance of financial planning. Now, they've gamified investing. And so people are day traders, and they're playing all sorts of things, and they're getting into that. And I think it may be a good lesson with a little bit of money, but it's really not financial planning. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a very good point. We need to make the distinction. So there's a lot of technology out there today that makes investing and the stock market accessible to anyone. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about the Gen Wealth Group is that we custody assets through Charles Schwab and Company, mm-hmm. and that is the custodian of our client assets. And so one of the principles of Schwab was he was one of the early pioneers in making investing accessible to all, mm-hmm. and opening these retail investing offices. And today they still are. There are plenty of Schwab offices all around the United States. But his principle was investing should be available to all Americans. It's even more available now than it ever was. Yes. You can just go to your phone and download an app, as we talked about at the break, things like Robinhood and E-Trade, and you don't need a lot of money to open an account. And compounding that accessibility, we have social media, and we have the whole issue, for example, of what happened with Reddit and GameStop. Mm. And we had social media influencing people, not based on fundamentals, not based on any real logic other than emotion, to see if they could swing some trades and swing a stock price. And they were actually able to do that. Right. Just through social media alone, through conjecture, through emotion, through a groundswell. And they were actually able to move stock price of GameStop. We all know what happened. It went up huge and people made lots of money, and then it went down just because there really were no fundamentals, lost lots of money. And so that is, something to be tinkered with. It's experiential, it's experimental, but we don't recommend it for serious long-term financial planning, wealth management, and wealth building. For that, you really need a plan. You really need guidance and advice. The gamified experience is there, but in our mind, it's really not what's going to get you to the finish line.
And that's a great point. And the market, way back again in the 80s, there wasn't social media, but you had the same thing. I remember there was a company called Coleco, and Coleco had something called the Atom computer, which is probably the worst computer ever developed. And so they really didn't have any underlying value, but they also owned the Cabbage Patch Dolls. And you remember the Cabbage Patch Dolls. And so their stock price, not based on any fundamentals, jumped up because people, the Cabbage Patch Dolls are the best thing. That was the hottest thing in there. And then, those who really watched the market knew they were going to tank eventually. So and that's why you need a plan, because this whole day trading, it's not based on fundamentals necessarily. It's often rumor and conjecture and other things. So it's important for investors to really understand and have fun. It's almost like I go to Atlantic City and I'll say, okay, I'm going to lose $200. And the second I lose $200, I walk away. and you can play that game. But a plan, so for those that don't know, Cherie, what are the components of the plans that you put together? What are kind of the separate pages of the plan?
Yeah, so it starts out actually pretty fundamentally and pretty basically with honestly household budgeting. So we begin with a client, we say, what's coming into your house every month in the way of income from all sources, and it might just be that you're still working and so you're earning an income, or maybe you're already retired and perhaps you're receiving a pension or Social Security. So whatever it is, we want to know what is coming into your house every month, and what is going out, right? So one of the first fundamentals is, are you spending more than you're earning?
Right.
That's the first thing. And if you are, we're going to want to try to correct that a little bit. And we don't really care what you're spending it on. We just want to get that in balance a little bit, because if you start out as an investor behind the eight ball and you're already strapped for cash every month, we feel it's going to put undue pressure on the investments because you're going to try to make that up somewhere else. And so the first thing we begin with is household budgeting, trying to understand income versus expenses. That's the first thing. The second component is, what have you managed to put away? What's been put away for retirement? Where are the assets that you've accumulated?
Right.
Are they liquid? Are they tied up in your work plan, perhaps a 401k? Perhaps they're already in an IRA? Perhaps most of your money is in your home. So we try to understand, where are the assets and what type of assets do you have that are going to support you in retirement?
Right.
And then we try to understand lifespan, lifestyle, financial goals. What are you trying to accomplish in retirement? What are your aspirations? Do you plan on, for example, still staying in your home? Many of the homes in this area of New Jersey, as you know, are quite costly.
Right.
Taxes are quite high. And so what do we have to generate in retirement to maintain the lifestyle that you have? So all of this information gets put into a full, comprehensive personal financial plan for every client. And then we take that client out 30 years. We plan for 30 to 35 year
that's
retirement for every client we have. And how are we going to generate income over that period of time? When the paycheck stops and you finally successfully retire, what is going to sustain you? How much do you need every month to still live the life that you have? And that's where the investment management comes in. We need to, first of all, protect the assets that you've accumulated, but then of course we need to grow them, because we're going to be faced with inflation, and we're going to be faced with a longer lifespan. I mean, we're all living longer today, so we have to plan for 30 to 35 years of retirement.
Well, and that's a really important point. My mom, unfortunately, my mom is just, her name is Grace, and she's just the epitome of that, but unfortunately she has Alzheimer's, and so she lives with me, and we have someone coming in, really just for an hour a day, and I've learned to be a nurse, and my daughter, and helping her, and so it begins to think that people are living longer, people are taking care of their parents now, in ways that they didn't have to a long time ago, and so you see some of that, and so you almost have to build that into your financial plan. And so are you looking at that as well, and long-term health care, those kinds of things?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. So there's a couple ways we can address that. The number of Americans that will need some form of long-term care, over the age of 70 or 75, it's very high. It's like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 of us are going to need some kind of long-term care at some point in our elderly years. Yeah. There's a couple ways to get at that. First of all, you can look to buy long-term care insurance, which we do offer as part of our financial planning. It's not a big part of our practice, but we do offer it as a planning tool for clients. It's more of a convenience, but we will advise and counsel on it. And so securing coverage under a long-term care policy is one strategy to pay for either a nursing home or in-home care or an assisted living facility of some kind. So we do look to package that up and solve that solution for clients. That's one way. Okay. The other way is just to kind of self-insure and do that through the asset accumulation that you have. And so we see both. We see clients that try to attack that in both of those ways. Long-term care insurance is a little bit tricky to come by because you do have to have a health exam. It's very similar to procuring life insurance. And so you can't wait too long to apply for it, otherwise you won't qualify.
Right. You're getting me thinking that maybe I need to work with my daughter to make sure she's 16, so she has money, so to help her old dad, when I'm at that stage in life. And so let's talk about, we have about, 4 minutes left. And so you're a husband-wife team. You live together. You work together. You're a successful family business. How do you negotiate? How do you make that work?
Yeah, it took some doing, honestly, in the beginning. We both came from two of the largest companies in America,
Right.
Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and I worked for Merck. So these are two big, sort of powerhouse corporations where we each had a lot of autonomy in our jobs. And then, sort of bring that together under one roof. It was a little challenging. We both sort of have strong personalities and strong convictions about what we think and how the business should be run. The thing that saved us really greatly is that we do two different things.
Right.
I don't manage client money. I'm not licensed. It's not my area of expertise.
Right.
My area is marketing and business development, and I help run the practice. So I really had free reign to do that, bringing with me some of the good training and corporate skills and all the things I learned, for the many years I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I brought those practices here.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
then Michael could focus on what he knew best, which is investment strategy, money management, financial planning, and portfolio management. So the bifurcation of work really helped.
Yeah.
And so that's really how we did it. We didn't overlap each other. We weren't checking under the hood to see
Right.
what each other was doing throughout the day, because we do different things. And then it also helped that we sort of had a policy up front, really not to bring work home, kind of leave it here in
Right.
Maplewood and
Right.
not leave it at the office and not bring it home.
Yeah, well, that's really good advice for family businesses. And now, is there a next generation nearby, or are they're years away from taking over the family business?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we are working parents. We have one in college. She's second year at the University of Virginia, and
nice.
I have a junior in high school who's starting to look at college himself. So son and daughter that show interest in the financial world in one way or another. Mike and I feel very strongly, though, that before they come here, if they do come here, that they go out into the world on their own and have a career for a period of time. They need to be learned and trained and educated and experience what it is to work for other companies before they come here at any point. So we'll see. We're hopeful.
Yep.
We're not sure, but we're hopeful.
Well, that's a great model. I mean, obviously, I work with a lot of different family businesses, and I think a lot of them feel the same way. Work somewhere else, learn some expertise, come back. Now, one of the things I have learned is that when the kids do some grunt work and other things, they seem to value the business more, and they're more likely to kind of take it over and treasure it. So when I ask people, did you sweep floors when you were young in a manufacturing facility? And that made a big difference. And so that really made a big difference. So, well, Cherie, we're really almost at the end of time. Any final word in the 20 seconds we have?
No, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate this and allowing you a chance for us to tell our story. I think what we do is really unique. We're a very personalized firm. We opened our business because we felt we could do it better. We could do it better than the larger financial institutions. It's a much more personalized experience. There's a great deal of integrity and honesty and transparency in what we do. We love taking care of families in and around the Maplewood area and really all around New Jersey. And it's a privilege to be trusted advisors to so many families.
Well, it's great to know you and great to have you as part of our FDU family and having you on Family Business World. So I want to thank the audience for watching, and we will see you next week. Cherie, thanks so much, and take care, and good luck.
Thank you, Jeff.